So with the release of the Panasonic S5 Mark II, all of us Panasonic users have finally gotten what we've been asking for, and that is a phase detect hybrid autofocus system that actually works. But with all of that being said, is it too late for Panasonic? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we get into it, let's talk about my brief but very important history with Panasonic, because the very first real camera that I got was this one right here. This is the Panasonic G85. This was initially released back in 2016. This is a micro four thirds camera that could actually do 4K, and that was a pretty big thing back in 2016, and it came in at a really great price. But as with anything that came out with Panasonic back then, the video autofocus was just not reliable. Even though I love absolutely everything about this camera, this is the one problem that really bothered me a lot, and it really made the camera feel incomplete. And because of that, I eventually moved over to this right here. This is the Sony a7 IV full frame camera, which is what I'm shooting this with right now. And so that is my history with Panasonic, and I think with a lot of people who actually use Panasonic cameras, they would probably echo the same thing. They love practically everything about it, especially the video features, but the one thing that holds it back is its reliable video autofocus. So now let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on why it could be too late for Panasonic, starting with market share. And so the last time that I looked, out of all the major camera brands, Panasonic was at the bottom with a 4.4% market share. And to kind of give you some comparison, the top companies, Canon had around a 45% market share and Sony had 27%. And following them was Nikon, Fuji, and about the only companies below Panasonic are other companies like Olympus or OM Systems and Pentax. And this whole market share issue is primarily driven by the fact that Panasonic didn't fix their video autofocus issue many years ago. And because of that, we have another problem, and that is their entire ecosystem. So if you look at camera brands like Canon and especially Sony, they have a very robust ecosystem. They have a lot of camera, and with Sony, they have so many different lenses, especially from third-party manufacturers. So if you're somebody looking to get into a camera system, looking at the entire ecosystem is a really big deal. And because of that, Panasonic was not able to grow as fast because they had a low market share. They didn't get as many sales as they could, because I could tell you, if they did fix their video autofocus many years ago, there'd be way more Panasonic cameras out there and their market share would be much higher. And then finally, because of all these things, the overall Panasonic brand really got affected by this, because whenever people are thinking of buying a camera brand, they're obviously going to do their research, and the one thing they consistently hear about Panasonic is the fact that it doesn't have great reliable video autofocus. And for people nowadays who want to be content creators, especially here on YouTube, having that is super important, and it could be the one critical factor that determines where people are going to spend their money. If you love reading books, then check out Audible, which has the largest selection of audiobooks anywhere on the internet. Sign up today and get a 30-day free trial. For more information, check out the affiliate link in the description area below. Okay, so now that we're seeing how it could be too late for Panasonic, let's now take a look at how this could be a really great new beginnings for this entire brand. Starting with the fact that now that they do have a really improved video autofocus system, all of their cameras going forward, whether it's their micro four thirds or their full frame or even their cinema lines, might have this video autofocus system. And that is a huge thing, because now when people are looking to buy new cameras going forward and they're looking at Panasonic, they really won't have this whole problem of video autofocus anymore. And then secondly, because Panasonic has pretty much fixed this issue, well, it's going to bring more and more third-party manufacturers, maybe even outside of the whole Leica and Sigma line, and it's going to help grow their ecosystem even further. And that could only help Panasonic, not only in the whole consumer brand, but also in the professional market as well. And speaking of micro four thirds, having this new autofocus system is definitely going to extend the life of Micro Four Thirds. Whether you are a GH user or G user, I can't imagine anyone being disappointed with having new Micro Four Thirds cameras that's going to actually have all the great video features you know and love, plus reliable video autofocus. And if you're already heavily invested in Micro Four Thirds, you don't actually have to upgrade to full frame anytime soon. And you also get all the benefits of a Micro Four Thirds system, the generally smaller sizes, much smaller lenses, and also overall cheaper prices for these lenses versus its full frame counterparts. So this is going to be a great thing for Micro Four Thirds users, whether they're using it right now or they're looking to get their first real camera. And the final huge opportunity I could see for Panasonic with this new video autofocus system is the simple fact that they have the potential to actually dominate the low-end and mid-tier camera markets. Because now, if you're looking for a really great camera to start and you don't want to break the bank, then a Micro Four Thirds camera from Panasonic is probably going to be your go-to camera, because Panasonic is probably going to offer you all the video features that you would want. And at the same time, if you wanted to upgrade to their full frame cameras, well, even now with the Panasonic S5 II, it undercuts all the other cameras at that same price range. Plus, they're offering you overall better video features and definitely the best stabilization in the biz. And these are all things that could really benefit Panasonic in really gaining more market share, but also dominating certain tiers of the camera systems. Because at this point, I really don't see where the huge advantages are with these other camera systems, unless you're talking about their ecosystems, which I really feel Panasonic will catch up. And so those are my thoughts on Panasonic, their new autofocus, and whether or not it's too late or whether it's new opportunities. So if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave it in the comments area below. And if you did want to see my original unboxing and initial review of my Panasonic G85 camera, I'll leave that in the video description area below or up here.